Okay, imagine for just a second that you're standing right in front of this massive, sprawling gold mine. How would you actually get the gold out? You wouldn't just, walk right in and start picking shiny nuggets off the ground, right? It takes heavy machinery. It takes a careful process of extraction, filtering, and refining before you ever hold something of real value. Well, welcome to this explainer of the data analytics mini course. Today we're going to take that exact mining analogy and apply it seamlessly to the modern business world. Because right now, literally every single company is sitting on a massive mine of raw data, and they desperately need people who know how to extract the valuable insights hidden inside.
So, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover the modern gold rush, analyst versus scientist, the data analytics process, tools of the trade, and finally, AI and data analytics.
Kicking things off with Section 1, the modern gold rush.
Let's dive right in. We are absolutely living through a modern gold rush right now. But the craziest part? The most valuable resource on the planet isn't buried in the dirt anymore. It's actually hidden within our massive digital footprints. So I asked you a moment ago, how do you extract gold from a mine? This fundamental question perfectly parallels the modern business necessity of exploring data. Businesses today have these massive virtual warehouses of information, data collected from every single click, every purchase, every little interaction. But raw data, much like huge chunks of unrefined ore covered in dirt and rock, isn't immediately useful. You've got to know how to blast through the rock, dig through all the debris, clean it all up, and extract those actionable insights that actually drive business decisions.
To truly wrap your head around the scale of this mine, we really have to look at the data explosion happening all around us. Get this. Every single minute of the day, there are 694,000 TikTok videos watched. In that exact same 60 seconds, 7,000 LinkedIn users are actively posting, commenting, and engaging. It's wild. Every time you consume content, algorithms are constantly collecting data to personalize your feed. The sheer volume of information being generated is growing at this mind-boggling exponential rate. It's honestly awe-inspiring when you realize just how much data is being created in the time it takes you to pour a cup of coffee.
But, well, here's the catch. Because of this massive explosion, we're experiencing what's called information overload. There's this growing divide, a real gap, between the massive volume of big data out there and the highly relevant data that we actually need to make smart choices. Think about your own inbox or your social media feeds for a second. It's so easy to feel completely overwhelmed, right? The more data we produce, the harder it becomes to just filter out all the noise. We end up missing out on crucial value simply because we're drowning in irrelevant information.
And honestly, this brilliantly illustrates exactly why data analytics is such a booming field right now. Despite this information overload, the financial value of big data is absolutely skyrocketing. Take a look at this revenue forecast. Back in 2011, the big data market was worth around $7.6 billion, which, yeah, seems huge, but companies were just barely starting to figure it out. Fast forward past 2021, and big data officially became mainstream. Now, as we project toward 2027, the revenue growth is hitting these exponential peaks. Why is that happening? Well, think about the rise of smart home devices, the Internet of Things, and the massive global shift to remote work. Every device and every interaction is now a data generator. Companies are desperately investing in analyzing this data because they know for sure their survival literally depends on it.
Moving on to Section 2, Analyst versus Scientist.
So this brings us to the professionals who actually do the mining. If you're looking to enter this booming digital market, you might be a little confused by some of the heavy industry jargon. So let's clear up the heavily debated difference between two highly sought-after roles, especially for anyone looking to switch careers. The data analyst essentially looks backward. They focus on historical data, do these deep dive explorations to find patterns in what has already happened, and their main challenge is creating crystal clear presentations to explain those insights to stakeholders. A data scientist, on the other hand, looks forward. Their focus is much more heavily technical. We're talking building complex machine learning algorithms and predictive models to forecast future outcomes. Both work with data, obviously, but their end goals and their day-to-day tools are actually pretty different.
All right, Section 3, the data analytics process. Let's see how this all builds into practical execution. Like, how exactly does an analyst mine this digital gold? It isn't just randomly staring at spreadsheets until your eyes cross. It requires a highly structured, progressive process. Think of it just like an actual mining operation. First up is data collection, gathering the raw ore from forms, databases, or maybe web scraping. Second is data preparation, also known as cleaning. This is where you wash away the dirt and filter out the rocks by handling missing or just plain messy data. Third is the actual data analysis, smelting the ore down by looking for trends and correlations. Fourth is data visualization, casting that gold into bars by building dashboards and charts so the data can be easily digested.
And finally, step 5, decision-making. Taking that refined gold straight to the bank. The ultimate goal of this entire process is to empower a business to make a smart, profitable decision based on the actual evidence.
Which brings us to section 4, tools of the trade.
So what tools do we actually use to execute this 5-step mining process? You might think you need advanced coding right out of the gate, but the reality is that the universally accessible spreadsheet is still incredibly powerful. Take a look at this practical example. This represents raw, unrefined public works data in Google Sheets. We've got a project ID, the type of project, listed here with the Indonesian term gedung for building, the location in Surabaya, a budget in the billions, and a contractor name. At first glance, this is just a giant wall of text and numbers. If you were handed 5,000 rows of this right before your morning coffee, it would just look like an absolute nightmare, right? It means absolutely nothing to you.
But when we apply really simple tools like column stats and pivot tables, brilliant insights start to emerge from the dirt. For example, we might spot that a primary key, the project ID, is duplicated. There are 2 entries for the exact same gedung or building in Surabaya at the exact same time, but with completely different budgets and contractors. That is a massive red flag. We might also identify missing variables, or maybe a dummy entry labeled Contractor X that was just some system test and needs to be deleted so it doesn't skew our math. Or imagine the panic of visualizing a quick histogram and finding a massive budget anomaly, like a single project costing $22 billion while all the rest are vastly lower. That demands an immediate audit. And as the analyst who built that chart, you're the hero who caught it before it went to the finance department. These are critical business insights extracted using very basic spreadsheet tools.
So the absolute crucial point here is this. Your technical tools are pretty much useless without data storytelling. You can build the most complex pivot table in the entire world, but if the person you're presenting it to doesn't understand it, you failed. According to a 2021 Forbes statistic, 71% of C-level executives heavily prioritize reports that use narrative-driven data storytelling. They want you to make the data digestible. They want to know the context, the visual design, and the narrative. If you don't know how to build a compelling narrative to communicate your findings, you honestly won't survive long in this industry.
And finally, section 5, AI and data analytics.
Now, as we wrap things up, we absolutely have to address the elephant in the room, artificial intelligence. How exactly is AI transforming these tools and the analytics career path as a whole? Well, tools like ChatGPT have become incredibly powerful assistants. AI can quickly provide statistical insights and interpret really messy data for you. It can generate Python or SQL coding scripts totally from scratch, or even explain existing code to you so you can understand it better. It creates data visualizations, and it can even assist in writing those final, comprehensive business reports. It's honestly like having a tireless co-pilot that handles all the heavy lifting, allowing you to focus entirely on the big picture. Now, if you're worried that AI is going to step in and replace the data analyst, well, the data itself is actually highly reassuring. A recent Alteryx survey of data professionals shows that 87% feel their role has actually become way more strategic because of AI. 83% aren't afraid of AI replacing them, and 70% state that AI directly boosts their overall effectiveness. The main takeaway here is super simple. Don't be afraid to make friends with AI. It isn't taking your job. It's actually evolving your job from pure manual execution into high-level strategic thinking.
We've definitely covered a lot of ground today, from the information overload gap to pivot tables and the amazing power of AI as your co-pilot. And it all comes right back to that initial analogy we started with. The data is out there, sitting like unmined gold, just waiting for someone with the right tools, the right process, and the right storytelling skills to pull it out and refine it into pure value. So the only question left for you is, are you ready to mine your own data?